Stephen Ballard and Jeremy McCord climbed over the fence into the backyard and approached the back door of the home, and it was at this point that Detective McCord noticed something odd. The doorknob from the back door was missing. There was just a hole where the doorknob should have been, and when he bent down and looked through that hole, he detected a strong chemical smell and felt intense heat coming through the doorknob hole. The police were able to get the garage door open using a garage door opener found in one of the cars, and upon entering the garage, they found that the smell of chemicals and the feeling of heat was even more pronounced. The officers approached the door in the garage that led directly into the house, and finding it unlocked, they opened it and announced themselves. Now, upon entering the actual house from the garage, the heat and the smell of chemicals became so strong that Deputy Stephen Ballard testified the skin on his face began tingling in reaction to the presence of chemicals. Directly in front of the door they entered through, they could see many items, bottles of what appeared to be chemicals, boxes of what looked like garbage bags. They continued on into an eat-in kitchen area with a table, and on that table they saw a woman's purse, a set of keys, a wrench, some other random things, and 2 wallets, one with Lisa Guy's identification inside and one with Joel Guy Sr.'s identification inside. They were also able to see that the house thermostat was set to 90 degrees, which is incredibly high. They moved on to the living room where everything appeared to be in order, besides for one strange sort of scene. There was a portable heater plugged in and sitting next to a plugged-in hairdryer. Now, after this, the officers made their way back into the foyer and proceeded to climb the stairs to the upper level. And that was where things started to go downhill fast.
And that's where I noticed the hands at the end of the hallway.
Oh my God. Are there people's hands? Yeah, I think so. That's what I think. That's what it looks like. Hands. Get out now. We got cleared this. There's blood all over it, though.
Lisa and Joel Guy had been brutally murdered. Most of the body parts, besides Joel's hands and Lisa's head, had been found in the master bathroom, stuffed inside of 2 blue Sterilite bins and covered with large amounts of liquid that appeared to be muriatic acid. Who could have done this, and why? That would be the question the Knox County Sheriff's Office was tasked with answering, and it wouldn't be long until their quest led them to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to the house of Joel and Lisa Guy's only son, 27-year-old Joel Guy Jr. Now, it turns out that Joel Guy Jr., although he was a grown man who was perfectly capable of taking care of himself, had never had a paying job. He would spend much of his time alone in his room, not interacting with anyone else.
The typical time with Dad and Lisa was more laughing and banter, but if Joel Michael Jr. was there, he wasn't ever hanging with us doing that banter. He would be in his room.
And on Thanksgiving, Michelle sensed some tension inside the house, and she and her father went outside and they were having a cigarette, at which point Joel Sr. told her that the tension was due to the fact that Lisa had already informed Joel Jr. earlier that month that as much as she wanted to continue helping him monetarily, they really had to be careful with their finances after retirement, and continuing to pay all his bills was just not in the budget. He was going to have to get a job. Joel Sr.'s oldest daughter, Shandice, would normally speak to her father every weekend, but this weekend she didn't hear from him at all, which would have ordinarily been odd, but it was made even more odd by the fact that it was her birthday on Sunday, November 27th, and her father always called her on her birthday. This was the first one he had missed in her whole life. Halfway through her workday, Michelle was called by Detective Jeremy McCord, and she met with him in the parking lot of a Harley-Davidson store. He told her that bodies had been found in her father's house, but they were unable to identify them yet, and he asked her who had been with her parents that weekend. That's when she gave them the name of her stepbrother, Joel Guy Jr., and authorities began tracking him down and building their case. There were bottles of chemicals all over the house. Bleach, muriatic acid, food-grade hydrogen peroxide. All of this stuff together is confusing, I guess, but their intent and uses, as well as what most likely happened to Joel and Lisa Guy, is made clear by a notebook. Inside this notebook, there was an entire step-by-step plan that should probably have been titled, How to Get Away with Murder When You Think You're an Evil Genius, But You Have Grossly Overestimated Your Intelligence. It's pretty clear to see what happened. Joel Guy Jr. was living the life of a leech, and he was satisfied with it. He didn't really want anything more. He felt no need to change, to become a contributing member of society, to make his own way in the world. He found out that his parents were going to be retiring and moving away, and they expected him to get a job. He had mapped it all out, and he had prepared to carry it out for weeks. Joel was happy and outgoing because he knew, or thought he knew, that his financial problems were about to be over and he wouldn't have to deal with these people anymore. He wouldn't have to pretend that he loved his mother and father. He wouldn't have to pretend that he liked his stepsisters or any of their kids whose names he didn't even know, so that his mother would keep paying his bills. He would have her money, and he would finally cut them off completely, which he already would have done if he didn't depend on his family for money. He didn't wait until Christmas because he knew very well that the main source of the money that would be coming to him was from Lisa's life insurance policy. But that life insurance policy was through her employer, and once she worked her last day in December, that went away. I'm sure Joel Jr. was super happy and outgoing. I'm sure he was reveling in what he was about to do, walking through the steps of his carefully formulated plan as he lay in bed the night before, like a kid on Christmas Eve, while his parents slept in the next room, blissfully unaware that this would be their last night together, sleeping in each other's arms. While they dreamt of embarking on their next chapter together, Joel dreamt about ending their lives.